I want to give honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, my pastor, Dr. Moore, his wife, Sister Moore, your pastor, Eric Harrison, his first lady, Sister Amy Harrison, and I'm excited to be here and a little bit nervous. I do some speaking every once in a while, but I guess Brother Eric's name carries a lot of weight at my house because I told my wife, he called me and asked me to speak, and her first words were, "You better do a good job." And that put a little extra pressure on me, but it showed how much respect, that she has for Brother Eric, because if he invited me to come up, she's letting me know that I better do well so that he won't get fussed at by his congregation. And got a few people like Brother Leroy. Wave your hand back there. That's one of my Laurel Park Lancer classmates. And Leroy and I have recently caught up a few times. He's called me, and man, we talk and we laugh and reflect on some different things. And see Brother Howell, fraternity brother, and some of the Laurel Park staff is here, and lots of folk. I'm not going to try to call a bunch of names because I know, I'll definitely get in trouble if I do that. I want to talk to you today about the theme, my people. My people. And that's going to be my focus today, my people. And I'm not a preacher. Brother Eric asked me if I wanted to speak here or in the pulpit. I want to make sure that if folks see any video or hear anything, I wasn't in anybody's pulpit. So I'm here at the podium. So I'm not preaching, I'm speaking. 1 Peter 2:9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of the darkness into the marvelous light. When I read that, it almost seems like that was written after the plight of African Americans. When you think about being called out of the darkness and royal priesthood, but we know that was written before. And today when I focus on, my people, I'm focused on the legacy of my people. And, that legacy includes, we've been called Negroes. We've been called colored. We've been called black. We've been called Afro-Americans, but they decided that we didn't all have afros, so maybe we should call them African-Americans. But even that term, doesn't satisfy, because some people say that we all haven't been to Africa, so why are we called African-Americans? So we've been called a lot of different things, but today you're just simply going to be called my people. And my people, we've been chosen to be God's example of overcomers. I want you to think about the history of our people and what all we have had to overcome every step of the way. You start with slavery, having to overcome slavery. And as a young lady came out and danced today, imagine that being your life every single day. How many people would just give up and say, I quit, I surrender, I'll do whatever you tell me to do? But we fought and overcame slavery. Then you had sharecropping. We know what sharecropping what sharecroppers went through and had to overcome that. But not only are we God's chosen example of overcomers, but we also God's example of persistence. There have been many times in history where we've asked for freedom. We've asked for rights, voting rights. We've asked for rights to be able to do this or do that. And we would always be told, well, come back tomorrow. And what did we do? We showed up, we knocked on the door. It's tomorrow. We're looking for, what you promised us. Well, come back in a couple hours. What did we do? We came back in a couple hours and we kept knocking on the door. We were never deterred and turned around and just say, forget it. It's never going to happen. We kept being persistent and kept fighting to get what rightfully belonged to ours. And we eventually stopped knocking on the door and asking. We started becoming barrier breakers, and we started knocking down doors. And so we're God's chosen example of barrier breakers. You think about all of those individuals, the Jackie Robinsons and individuals who were the first African American to do this and do that. They didn't do it, because they were given the right to do it. They did it because they were good. They stood the test and they believed in God. And so we are barrier breakers. We're also God's chosen example of excellence. You think about music. You think about African American music, excellence. You think about movies. I went to see Black Panther last night, and it is an awesome movie. So when we are given the chance, man, we can be excellent. And it's funny sometimes how we do something as African Americans, and you get all this praise, like, wow, that's amazing. And you almost get that feeling like, people feel like, well, I didn't think you could do that because no African American has ever done that before. No, we just need to be given the chance, and we can show you how excellent we are, and judge us according to the right standards. Don't judge us according to anybody else's standards, but judge us according to the right standards. The same standards you judge other folk by, judge us by that, and I guarantee you that you will realize that we are excellent. Amen. I want to let you know also that we are royal priesthood. We are kings. Look at these kings and queens up here. We are kings and we are queens. And that's important because we haven't always been told that. We've been told that we're thugs, we're losers, we're second class. But when we realize that we're kings and queens and we act that way, you will be amazed and surprised at the things that we can do when we get that confidence in ourselves, that I am a king, that I am a queen. You'll be surprised at what we can do. We are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. And so I want to encourage us today to stop looking at our faults and look at our accomplishment. Nothing bothers me more than to look at Facebook, and all the time it's like we as African Americans say that only black people would do this. I'm not going to support black businesses because of this. Black people going to always be late and this and that. Man, let's stop looking at the negative and let's look at the accomplishments. Look at what we have overcome. Some of you all lived during the time period when you couldn't go into certain stores, when you had to sit outside. So it hadn't been long ago that we couldn't do certain things. So just the fact that we're able to do is amazing. So let's stop looking at the negative things. Let's look at the accomplishments that we have made. And it just seems like, because when we look at the negatives, of course, other folk look at the negative. And I'm going to use this one example, and I hope all my school folk don't get upset with me, and I've been harping on this for years. We get on our young African American males about the sagging clothes. Guess what? I don't like it. I hate it. But is it worth getting suspended for? Is it worth sending a kid home? And the reason that they say the sagging clothes were so bad was because kids could put guns and this and that. I don't know of any African American who shot up in a school. But yet they're getting suspended for wearing these sagging clothes. So, make it make sense to me. Yes, pull your clothes up, look nice, look decent. But if that's the style, let's help them to make the style work for them. Let's teach them how when they go to an interview, you dress up, you put on a shirt and tie, you go to the interview, versus making them feel like, that they're away. Because then kids, that they get turned off about school. Well, I can't go to school. They want me to dress like these other kids. And so we have to not, look at the negative. Let's look at the positives. Let's find the positives, and let's not down ourselves. Let's lift us up. Back when you all grew up, you had the afros. I'm sure people, talk negative about the afros, but that was your style. They're, sagging pants. I don't like them, but it's their style. And some kids actually dressed up and look, nice, because what we told them was, we don't want to see your underwear. So guess what kids started doing? Putting on basketball shorts. So now you can't see the underwear. So, and that's one of my points, is that anytime we try to stop our folks, we always find a way to make it work for us. So let's look at the positives. We were called out of the darkness of slavery into the marvelous light of freedom. Called out of the darkness of segregation into the marvelous light of opportunity. And called out of the darkness of second-class citizenship into the marvelous light of first-class living. And I really want to focus on this one here. We are a peculiar people. We are a peculiar people. Man, we got to have it our way. When it comes to food, music, and dress, we like to have a little something extra in it. And that extra is called soul. We got to have a little bit of soul in it. Don't just take the hamburger and mix it up and make me some meatloaf. You got to put a little something extra in that meatloaf, put a little soul in it. And that's what we like. And not just that, but, we all have our conversations. And when, we do certain things, if we don't like hot sauce, well, you ain't black. If you can't dance, you ain't black. don't like to shout or do certain things at church. Well, you ain't black. You know, so when we ain't got soul, we question our blackness. And we've all said that in, you know, in a joking way, but we all do that because we like that soul in what we do. Everything that we do, we like to put a little soul in it. You know, you see the brothers out there, you give them a baseball cap, they can't wear that baseball cap to the front. They got to tilt it to the side. Yeah, you know it. There you go. You know, you get the national anthem and you let us sing it. We can't just go sing it like it was written. We got to put a little extra into it. You know, Whitney Houston. Now, we're not going to do like the lady did the other night. You know, we're going to make it work. We're going to do it the Marvin Gaye, the Whitney Houston style. So we're going to put a little soul in it when we're involved in it. My people have been challenged, chastised, mistreated, belittled, deprived of opportunities, and simply, my people have been done wrong. But this has caused my people to rely more heavily on their faith in the hope that God will see us through. See, sometimes stuff happens, and man, we get, you know, this pity party. But that's when you have to rely on God. God, there's a reason that I'm going through this. And that's what my people have done. And that's why sometimes, and I'm speaking for me, I can't speak for everybody, stuff happens. You know, I was at Bassett, and I got moved. I mean, you know, for whatever reason, I got moved. And it's like, people like, man, you ought to be down. You know what? Life goes on. This ain't the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I grew up in a home with a mother who made $16,000 a year with 3 kids. 2 of them were drug addicts. 1 of them sold drugs. So getting moved from Bassett was nothing, because I knew that God was going to get me through that just like he got me through everything else. And my people who have been through some things, when stuff happens, man, we still get up the next day and we're resilient. We still find a way to keep going and keep moving. And that's the stuff I like to talk about when it comes to my people. Not all of this negative stuff, but the good stuff, that my people can bounce back. We're resilient. This has caused my people to understand the importance of living as a holy nation and living according to the word of God. We're not perfect Christians, but my people do understand that God's word has power. Example, 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us this spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Not a spirit of fear. Let's go back, 1954. Rosa Parks, get on the bus. Rosa Parks knew that if you do wrong, you could be killed, you could be jailed, you could lose your job, your house could be burned, your family could be killed. Lots of bad things could happen. But because she did not have a spirit of fear, she sit down on that bus, and I'm not going to get up. And because of Rosa Parks, buses were eventually integrated. But she could have, not had that, spirit of, she could have had a spirit of fear. And that would have made her say, you know what, well, I'm going to get up because I don't want to die. No, Rosa Parks did not have that spirit of fear. Harriet Tubman did not have that spirit of fear. One of our locals, Wendell Scott, I had the privilege of playing basketball for his son, Frank Scott. I had no idea that Wendell Scott was this big deal. He would come to the ball games, and he was just some old bow-legged guy with gray hair when he would come. But now we're starting to learn his legacy. Wendell Scott was a big deal. And I want to commend his grandson, Ward Scott, for making sure that we all know. And if you don't know, Wendell Scott was the first African-American to win a NASCAR race. Let me tell you, though, it wasn't easy. Wendell Scott went to one race, and they told him that we have one ambulance, and that ambulance would only transport white people. Wow. So therefore, if you get hurt, we can't transport you. So guess what? You can't race today because this ambulance will not transport you. Wendell Scott won one race in his life, and when he won that race, they would not present him with the trophy because the trophy was presented by a white female. They did not want him to be seen in the picture receiving a trophy from her. So they did not give him the trophy, gave it to somebody else, called him 3 or 4 hours later to tell him that you are the winner, but your trophy's already gone. So, he could not, and that's just the stuff that we know about. Imagine the names he was called, the things he was told. N-word, if you race today, we're going to do this to you, we're going to do that to you. But he did not have a spirit of fear, so he kept on racing. Thurman Eccles, did not have a spirit of fear. You know, he walked and marched up and down the streets with Dr. King. You know, he did not have a spirit of fear. Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Dr. King, good courage. Every time he spoke, he risked his life. Somebody could have been on top of a building, ready to shoot and kill him, because the people who would protect him would have been the police officers of that community. And guess what? They probably didn't like him, but because he had good courage and he knew that his mission was from God, he had to go do what he had to do. Jackie Robinson had good courage. Jackie Robinson would play baseball, and when the team went to go on the road, the white counterparts could go to a hotel. Guess what? It was whites only. Jackie would have to find a boarding house to go to and stay at that boarding house. When they went to scout a game, the white players could sit in the regular stands. Jackie had to sit in the balcony of the stands. Now, he's playing on this team. He had to sit in the balcony. There was one incident where somebody threw a black cat on the field and made the comment, that's your cousin, that's your family, or whatever the case was. But Jackie didn't get discouraged. He kept playing and kept playing. Now, if you look at the major league rosters, look at all of the African Americans, you know, who are playing baseball. That's why sometimes when we're going through something, we have to realize that we're opening doors for somebody else. Right. We might have to go through it. We might catch all sorts of everything going through it, but that door is going to be open for somebody else, and it's going to be easier for them. So don't give up. You know, don't lose that courage. Curtis Milner, first African American member of the school board. I have no idea what he went through, but I can only imagine. I can only imagine what he's heard. And the bad thing is, sometimes he hears it from us. That's the bad thing. You know, sometimes we hear it from each other. We expect an African American who's in a position to be able to work magic, change the laws, break the laws to make them work for us. It doesn't work that way. I will advocate for you. I will speak up for you. I will get you in the door, but I can't break the law, can't change the law to get you what you want. There's still a process. Lisa Milner, who's now our assistant superintendent, if my knowledge serves me correctly, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but she's the first African-American assistant superintendent, you know, for Henry County Public Schools. You know, we've got some people who have good courage. Matthew 5:44, but I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you. And pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. I think about the housekeeper. Love your enemy. Pray for those who spitefully use you. You know, my mom talked about how she was kept houses or cleaned houses. And, you know, I can imagine late at night, you know, the white couple is there, they're having conversation, and probably not so good about maybe African Americans. But, you know, it was a job. She had to do it, you know, but her conversation wasn't something negative. You know, she didn't put poison in their food or do something mean or nasty. She prayed for them. She still loved, you know, the enemy. You know, I think about the sharecropper who would grow crops and would take the crops to the landowner. And every time you would take the crops to the landowner, you owed them more and more money. And that way that you could never get off of their land, you always owed them more and more crop. But that sharecropper, you know, they didn't burn down the fields or tear up the, you know, the landowner's home. They prayed for that landowner. They loved that landowner. The one who was denied a promotion because of race. You know, imagine how many of us, you know, we're not even going to go outside of this church, but probably could have got a promotion, but because of your race, you didn't get that promotion. And for females, because of your gender, you didn't get that promotion, but you prayed for the enemy. You still love that enemy, you know, and that's what my people do. You know, we don't go out and hate. I think about, you know, slavery. There will be 1 or 2 slave owners in a whole yard full of slaves. Those slaves at any point in time could have waited till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, went in there and killed those slave masters, but they chose not to do that. They chose to pray and wait upon the Lord. Zeb Talley. You know, Zeb Talley, Think about what he went through when he became superintendent. You know, you become superintendent of a school district, and the first thing that hits you is a lawsuit. You know, imagine that. But Zeb Talley didn't go out and he didn't slander this person's name. He didn't talk bad about this person. Every time I've heard him talk, all he did is just, God will take care of it. And what has happened to that lawsuit? Gone. Because Zeb Talley, you know, put it in God's hand. Think about the folk who could have won Oscars, could have won Grammys and Emmys and all the different things that didn't happen. You know, you didn't hear them out talking negative. You know, they prayed for the enemies. They prayed. You know, they still love, you know, what they did. Ephesians 6:11. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. No president was disrespected anymore than Barack Obama.
My Lord, yes, yes.
But he stood against the wiles of the devil.
Yes, he did.
All of us wanted him to jump up and jump out and smack somebody, hit somebody, cuss somebody out. But Barack Obama knew that he could not do that. But he also knew that he had on a whole armor of God. God will protect me. God will provide. God will get me through. And he's another one that we sometimes say he didn't do enough. Yes, he did. He showed us that we can become president of the United States of America. He opened up the doors for all of us. Muhammad Ali had to withstand the wiles of the devil. Muhammad Ali, boxing champion, did not want to fight in Vietnam. Some of you all may have fought in Vietnam, but Muhammad Ali's thing was, why am I going to go to Vietnam and fight for their rights? And I don't even have rights in my own country. And they took away his championship belt, took away 3 years of his boxing career. But he withstood that, came back, and eventually became champion again. The black soldiers of World War II had to withstand the wiles of the devil. You know, we fought against Germany, the Nazi Germans. Guess what? Black soldiers were told to go to the back of the bus so the German prisoners of war could sit in the front of the bus. Reading this morning, and oftentimes, you know, the black prisoners would have to eat outside of the restaurant while the German prisoners of war would eat with the white American generals inside of the restaurant. So imagine that, but you know, they still went and fought. Back to Martinsville City, Ozzie Dixon had to withstand the wiles of the devil. Imagine your principal. You go to a school board meeting, you get to that meeting, and they tell you, oh, you're not going to be principal tomorrow. That would hurt, wouldn't it? Then they tell you, oh, and by the way, we're going to take $30,000 away from you starting tomorrow. Imagine what went through his head. But, you know, he withstood because he had on the whole armor of God. But guess what? God turned that thing around. Now Ozzie Dixon's back at Martinsville as principal, and Martinsville is accredited and doing good. All we need is a chance and support, and you'd be surprised at what we can do. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. My people, despite all that's going on, it's not time to faint. There's no time for us to give up and give in right now. It's time for us to soar to higher heights. Young folk, you know, we've got a lot of people doing a lot of good stuff, but you all can take it on to the next level. If you put God in your life and you believe and you work hard and you strive, you can take it to the next level. You know, it's time for us to run. You know, we're jogging right now. It's time for us to run and really do some great things in the name of the Lord. Some say, let's make America great again. I simply say, let's make America great. 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. A lot of bad things are going on. God is the answer.
Yes. Yes.
We want to blame everything else, but God is there. Let's don't look at the blame. Let's look at the solution. And the only solution is God. You know, people talk about giving teachers guns, and that's going to stop school shootings. No, it's not. You know, because Teachers could have a mental illness. You know, teachers could sit the gun down. A kid could pick it up and decide to shoot somebody. You know, a teacher could get frustrated. And so that may not stop school shootings, but if we turn to God, God will heal the mind, because it's not about, it is about guns and all that stuff, but it's about the mind. It takes somebody with a mental illness to go in and want to shoot up and kill 17 and 18 and 19 and 20 people. But if we turn to God, God will heal their mind. They may have the mindset that I'm going to that school and shoot it up, but before they get there, because we're, you know, living according to God's word, they will stop and say, you know what? I am not going to do this. We can't wait on Donald Trump or anybody else to make America great. We have to rely on God. God is the only answer, and that God is within us. If we start living right and doing right, then all these things that are happening will stop happening. But you think about these things, you know, I read something the other day that talked about how we took prayer out of school, and, you know, but then we want things, not bad things, not to happen in school. But look at what we've done to schools. We've taken prayer out. You know, kids can't do certain things. So we have to rely on God, not Donald Trump, not Congress, not anybody. We have to live a godly life in order to see great things happen. And that's just in our daily lives. You know, we think everything is so divine. Some things is just common sense in the Bible. You know, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. If I'm spending $3 or $4 on a pack of cigarettes, I'm smoking 2 or 3 packs a day. If I stop doing that, guess what? I'm going to have some money in my pocket. You know, if I'm going out and buying lottery tickets every day, $40, $50 a week, if I stop doing it, I'm going to have money in my pocket. So yeah, you know, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, but some things is just common sense. If we stop creating arguments and going out and doing stuff that we shouldn't be doing, people are not going to be mad at us and trying to kill us anyway, because we haven't done anything to folk to make them want to kill us. You know, we've created all this hatred in America. And then we wonder why people are so hateful. We've created hatred. Hatred has always been there. Let's get rid of the hatred. Some of this stuff will go away. If any people know that God will fulfill his promise, it's my people. He has brought us from the fields of slavery to the positions of CEO. He has taken us from cleaning those big houses to living in those big houses. God has brought us a mighty long ways, my people. He has taken us from being ridiculed on TV, such as Amos and Andy and people with their faces painted black, to now we have our own TV stations. So my people, let's strive daily to grow closer to God so that he will heal our land. Amen. And as I conclude, I encourage you to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding, but also, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. I encourage you to give your best every day. Not 2 days a week, 1 day a week. Give your best every day with everything that you do. I encourage you to make a difference for somebody else. Let's look around. Let's find that person who's struggling. Let's not gossip about them, talk about them, but let's go help that person. Let's not wait for them to come to us. You know, we're good about saying, if you need something, let me know. I wouldn't say that if I didn't think you needed something. You might just need a phone call, a card, a hello, but let's do something for somebody else. Let's be that change agent. You know, we all work somewhere. We all do something. There's something that needs to be changed. Be that change agent. Don't sit around and wait for the change. Be that change. Fight for right. It might cost you some friends. It might cost you some time. May even cost you your job. But fight for right. And this is going to sound like it's the same, but it's different. Stand against wrong. See, fighting for right is one thing, because you might have a whole lot of people there fighting with you. But when you stand for wrong, stand against wrong, you might not have anybody who's willing to stand with you. You know, other folk might say, you know what, man, you got to go do that by yourself, because I know it's wrong, but that's the boss. Now, I can't stand against the boss. You know, I know it's wrong, but man, you know, they got a lot of money and I can't stand against them. Stand against wrong and stand and be unmovable. Don't let somebody push you off of that. love according to God's word. We've created all these different ways to love folk. But God tells us exactly how to love people. Read it. Go into Corinthians and read about love and how God wants us to love each other. And we also, with love, I want to say this. When it says love thy neighbor as thyself, we've got to love thyself first. And if we're doing all sorts of bad things to thyself, that's not how we want to treat our neighbor. Treat yourself first. Love yourself first. Respect yourself. Do the right things by yourself, and then treat your neighbor that way. Be patient. Be patient. We don't have to have it today. We don't have to have it tomorrow. But be patient. Wait on God. God will provide. Be understanding. Listen to other folk. You may totally disagree with them, but listen to them. Hear what they have to say. Listen to how they feel, because my wife has helped me to understand this, because I was, sometimes still is pretty stubborn. And I just believe what I believe. But she'll talk to me sometimes, and it's like, I don't want to hear it. But then when I sit back and listen, like, man, she made a whole lot of sense. But if we would just listen and be understanding and realize that other people know some things, they may not have traveled the path we've traveled, they may not be our age or whatever the case may be, but they know some things. Let's be understanding. Be humble. We've all accomplished a lot in life, but let's be humble. We didn't do it. God did it. God opened those doors for us. God paved the way for us. God allowed us to be in a situation that we could achieve those things. So I just want to encourage my people today. Let's take it. And I love, what you have on your bookmark here. The strength in our past gives us faith in our future. That's what we need to look at with Black history. Let's look at what our people have gone through in the past. And let it give us strength that we can do any and everything. If somebody such as Booker T. Washington can come out of slavery and start a college, man, we can do anything. Young folk, you can do anything and be anything that you want to be. Don't get discouraged when people tell you that you can't do. And as we close out, I want all of my people who have the intelligence of a Barack Obama to stand. I want all of my people who have the courage of Dr. Martin Luther King to stand. I want all of my people who have the wisdom of a Harriet Tubman to please stand. I want all of my people who are willing to stand against wrong as Rosa Parks to please stand. You all are my people. And I want to encourage each one of you to live and do and be the best that you can be. Believe that you are a king. Believe that you are a queen. And don't let anybody tell you anything different. And let's carry this torch on, my people. And let's continue to do the things that will make America great. And most importantly, let's trust and believe in God, and America will be great. Thank you.